Welcome everyone to our next webinar in our Logistics Viewpoint series, Sustainability in the Supply Chain. We'll wait a few minutes for everyone to join us, maybe 3 to 5 minutes. In the interim, we ask you to read our splash landing slide here about the 30th Annual ARC Leadership Forum. It is our 30th annual forum. It's in Orlando, Florida. And we have a wide range of topics this year focusing on AI and digital twins, robotics, smart manufacturing, digital transformation, cybersecurity, and its relation to AI. And for our audience here at Logistics Viewpoints, AI and the supply chain. So feel free to visit arcweb.com, arcweb.com, and look for the forum. And registration, I believe, is now open. Alternately, you can visit ARC Advisory Group on LinkedIn and look for the events page. There with one click, you could save the date for the forum and receive additional information. Let's give it a few minutes and we'll be back with our webinar for today. Well, seeing how it's now 11:03 and we have a substantial amount of content to cover today, we're just going to plunge in and get started. And of course, this presentation will be available in a recording format, so you can watch it later. And actually, it's also has a parallel companion white paper that delves into these topics in much more detail. So let's get started. Welcome to the Logistics Viewpoints webinar series. In this series, our past webinars have been AI in the supply chain, cybersecurity, and this is sustainability in the supply chain. Upcoming next month will be energy in the supply chain. In January, we will host a webinar on connected vehicles, V2X, and its impact on the supply chain. And we'll finish out this year before our ARC forum with a webinar on digital twins and their impact on the supply chain. Here's how we'll spend the next 60 minutes. Each of these 10 segments ends with concrete takeaways that you can adapt to your own organization. Keep an eye out for actions that feel both practical and high impact. Those are truly your best starting points. Let's jump right into the introduction. Setting the context. When we talk about sustainability today, we're really talking about performance. Regulators are tightening reporting rules, investors want credible data, and customers expect proof that operations are responsible. These pressures all land in the supply chain because that's where the emissions, the energy use, and the waste actually occurs. The companies that handle this well aren't just compliant, they operate more efficiently and are less exposed to risk. What I want you to take away is that sustainability and profitability are now linked. If you improve resource efficiency, you improve margins. If you build resilience into sourcing, you protect revenue. It's not an abstract idea anymore, it's basic business discipline. Consumers shift in expectations. Expectations have changed fast. New disclosure rules in the US, Europe, and Asia make emissions reporting mandatory. Banks and investment funds now consider ESG scores before lending. And consumers, especially younger ones, want proof that products are made and moved responsibly. The supply chain sits right in the middle of all of that. And if you can't show where your materials come from, how they're shipped, and the impact along the way, you risk losing contracts or market access. Transparency used to be a differentiator. Now it's the price of admission. The good news is that the same visibility that satisfies regulators also helps you run better, have fewer surprises, and fewer disruptions. Moving from compliance to advantage. Let's be practical. The companies that moved early on sustainability didn't do it for the publicity. They did it because it saved money. Energy efficiency, lean packaging, and smarter logistics all cut costs. Reuse and recycling programs turn waste into supply. Those improvements showed up directly on the income statement. But there's also a softer but real benefit. Employees and investors prefer firms that can back up their ESG claims with numbers. It helps recruit talent and keeps capital costs down. So the point here is simple. When sustainability is embedded in day-to-day operations, it becomes an advantage, not an expense. The data imperative, and data is imperative. Everything starts with data. Without consistent metrics across procurement, logistics, and manufacturing, you're guessing. Leading companies now integrate environmental data right into their operational dashboards. Energy meters feed into the ERP. Transport emissions come from telematics. And supplier data flows through shared portals. That integration lets you see problems while you can still fix them. It also gives confidence to investors and regulators that the numbers are in fact real. The goal here isn't to publish a glossy sustainability report once a year. It's to have accurate information every single day so decisions can adapt in real time. Session objectives. First, we'll cover fundamentals, what a sustainable supply chain actually looks like, and why integration matters. Then we'll look at measurement, how to capture the data that makes progress real. We'll review the governance and reporting structures that keep programs on track, and we'll close with a practical roadmap, what to do first, how to scale, and how to turn compliance into tangible business value. The aim here is not theory, it's concrete tools you can take back to your organization. So let's look at some foundations. Core principles. Sustainability only works when it's built into your normal operations. Separate, freestanding green projects often fade because they sit outside your core processes. The stronger model is integration, energy efficiency, responsible sourcing, and waste reduction, all tied to existing KPIs. Transparency connects departments and partners so everyone is working from the same exact data, a single point of truth. When that happens, sustainability stops being a cost center and evolves to become a part of continuous improvement. The companies that plan for this in the long term optimize lifetime cost rather than quarter-to-quarter savings and end up with more stable operations and better overall margins. Systems thinking. A supply chain isn't a straight line. It's a network. When you change something in one part, it affects several others. Systems thinking forces us to map those connections, how sourcing decisions influence transportation, how packaging affects warehousing, and so on. Once you see the whole picture, you can target the true drivers of waste and emissions rather than treating just single standalone symptoms. This approach avoids the common trap of local optimization that hurts the overall system. The objective here is to raise total performance, financial and environmental, across the entire network. Collaboration as a force multiplier. No company can hit sustainability goals alone. Suppliers control most of the emissions and material inputs, so collaboration is truly essential. The best programs create joint metrics. Both sides track the same numbers and share progress. Some firms run supplier training initiatives to raise capabilities. Others share efficiency tools or co-invest in renewable power. When partners work from a shared data set, decisions move faster and improvements scale across the network instead of stopping at corporate boundaries. Measuring progress. Well, measurement keeps everyone honest. Science-based targets tie your goals to physical reality, what's required to meet global climate thresholds. The next step is connecting those targets to operational KPIs, like energy per shipment or waste per unit produced. This regular benchmarking helps teams see where they stand against their peers. The key is to make progress measurable and visible, and then build recognition and rewards around that. When teams do see these results tied to performance reviews or incentives, behavior changes very quickly. Let's summarize this section. If you do remember one message from this section, it's that sustainability only works when it's embedded, connected, and measured. Integration keeps it alive. Systems thinking keeps it balanced. Collaboration expands the reach, and data keeps it real. These principles form the base we'll build on as we move into carbon measurement and energy management. So let's look at measuring carbon and energy impact. Understanding scopes 1, 2, and 3. Scope 1 covers the emissions you produce directly, company vehicles, boilers, on-site equipment. Scope 2 is the electricity or steam you buy. Scope 3 is everything else. Your suppliers, your logistics providers, even how customers use and dispose of your products. For most companies, Scope 3 makes up 80 or 90% of total emissions. That's why engagement outside your walls matters so much. Getting that data means working with partners, aligning methods, and sometimes helping them build their own measurement capabilities. You can't manage what you don't understand, and most of that footprint exists beyond your direct control. Data and IoT for accuracy. As many of us know, collecting carbon data used to be manual and slow. Now, sensors and connected devices can capture it automatically. Smart meters report energy usage minute by minute or even second by second. Telematics in trucks calculate the fuel burn for every route. And predictive models spot unusual spikes that could signal equipment issues or data entry errors. This automation saves staff time and produces cleaner, more defensible numbers. With this consistent IoT data feeding the analytics, you can verify trends quickly and make operational adjustments before your next reporting cycle. A digital twin is a virtual model of your process or network. You can change variables, transport modes, suppliers, energy sources, and immediately see the effect on emissions and cost. That capability prevents expensive trial and error in the real world. It also provides a clear record for management review, why a decision was made, and what results were in fact expected. When combined with live data from sensors, the twin becomes an almost near real-time control system for sustainability performance. Reporting frameworks. Standard frameworks keep everyone speaking the same language. The Greenhouse Gas Protocol sets the rules for how to calculate and categorize emissions. CDP and TCFD outline what to disclose to investors, while ISO 14064 provides a path to independent verification. Using these recognized frameworks and others does in fact simplify this internal alignment and the external review. It tells regulators and investors that your numbers follow accepted practices. This verification is worth the effort. It protects both your reputation and it supports future financing. So let's summarize this section. Carbon management is a data problem first. You need consistent inputs, shared standards, and verified outcomes. Most of the impact is in scope 3, so collaboration and data sharing are essential. Today's technology helps, Sensors, analytics, and digital twins make the job practical. And once that data is solid, you can focus on action rather than arguments. That's where we'll head next, into circular economy principles and materials management. Circular economy and materials management. Let's talk about designing for circularity. Most sustainability outcomes are determined long before production. Roughly 80% of a product's lifetime impact is set at the design stage. If it's hard to disassemble or use as mixed materials, recycling later can be almost impossible. The smarter path is modular design, parts that can be replaced, refurbished, or recovered. Engineers should also ask, how will this material come back into our process? When teams design with this reuse in mind, waste becomes a controllable variable, not a cost at the end of the process. So this circularity isn't about perfection, it's about keeping materials in motion as long as possible and minimizing virgin input into your processes. Now let's think about reverse logistics as a value stream. Returns used to be a nuisance, now they're an asset. Reverse logistics captures that product value that would otherwise leave the system. Retailers and manufacturers both are setting up collection points or partnering with recyclers to close that loop. Automation, scanners, conveyors, image recognition, in fact, cuts the labor in sorting these returned goods. Digital identifiers, in some cases, let us know what materials came back and where they go next. This same network that moves products out can also bring those resources back in. Think of returns as a managed flow. If you think that way, it turns recovery into revenue. Material innovations. Material science is advancing ever more quickly, every day, week, and month. Recycled aluminum, low-carbon steel, and bio-based plastics are now available at a very competitive cost. The key is picking the right substitution points, targeting the materials that drive the biggest footprint first. Ask suppliers for documentation on recycled or renewable content and test new formulas in limited runs. Sustainability doesn't mean accepting weaker performance. It means matching material to the mission. When procurement and engineering work together, innovation happens without associated production risks. So how do we track circular performance? What gets measured improves. If circularity is a priority, it needs the same rigor as safety or quality metrics. Track recovery percentages and diversion rates just like you do with output or yield. Use carbon accounting to show the value of each ton of material reused versus purchased new. These numbers do in fact matter to customers and investors. Internal audits should confirm that circular practices are happening and not just planned. Public reporting also adds discipline and helps partners benchmark against you. So summing up, circular systems start with design and end with data. When you know where your materials come from and where they return, waste becomes manageable. This circular mindset links engineering, procurement, and logistics under one goal: keeping the resources in play longer and reducing cost in the process. So let's move on next to sustainable procurement and sourcing. Section 5. Procurement really sets the baseline. Most emissions and risks sit upstream, as we previously talked about. Procurement controls that lever. By inserting ESG requirements into sourcing documents, you can define expectations early at the beginning of the process. Suppliers should know that they'll be rated on emissions reporting and labor standards, as well as price and delivery. This multi-factor scoring keeps the process balanced. Your sourcing contracts should specify data sharing obligations so you can track progress year over year. And when you engage these suppliers truly as partners, not vendors, the conversation shifts from compliance to true collaboration. So how do you assess supplier performance? Well, first, assessment has to be systematic. Start with standardized tools or your own scorecard, but don't stop at self-declaration. Spot check your documentation, and for very critical suppliers, conduct site visits or third-party audits. Rank partners by impact and risk exposure, so resources focus where they matter most. Then close the loop, share the findings, set some goals, and offer support. The intent here isn't to catch anyone, it's to raise the floor across the entire network. Let's talk about local and regional sourcing. Re-examining geography is one of the easiest ways to cut carbon. Local sourcing lowers transport miles and lead time. It also supports resilience as regional suppliers can respond faster when global logistics have challenges. Of course, proximity isn't everything. Unit cost and capacity still count substantially. A total cost of ownership view usually shows that reduced freight and inventory offset slightly higher unit prices. So the right answer here is a balanced mix between global reach and perhaps some local anchors. Long-term partnerships, why you should value them. Well, short contracts don't promote improvement. Longer partnerships give suppliers the confidence to invest in cleaner technology and training. Agree on measurable goals and review them quarterly, if not monthly. Transparency about cost structure and challenges goes both ways. It's bidirectional. When this trust is in fact built, partners are far more willing to share their ideas that cut waste or energy or drive other sustainability initiatives. Many breakthroughs, such as lightweight packaging or alternate materials, come directly from supplier innovation. You really should treat them as part of your core team. So summing up this section, procurement is truly the front door to sustainability. Every purchase decision carries environmental weight. So by integrating ESG into supplier selection and maintaining open, data-driven relationships, organizations can build reliable, transparent networks that perform better and recover faster from disruptions. Green transportation and logistics. Let's understand emission hotspots. Transportation usually accounts for the biggest piece of supply chain emissions. Trucks, ships, planes burn most of the fuel that makes products move. To improve, you need to know where the impact lies: mode, route, and load factors. Collect fuel and mileage data from carriers and integrate it directly into your dashboards. This should give you a clear baseline before changing anything, and that's where you really need to start. The next step is cooperation and collaboration. Emissions cannot be reduced without the carrier's participation, so you really need to involve them early in your planning processes. Shifting modes and optimization. Changing transport modes is often the fastest way to cut emissions. Moving cargo from air to sea or from truck to rail can reduce carbon emissions by 50% or even more. Consolidating orders and planning backhauls avoids empty miles. AI-based route optimization tools now make this manageable at scale. Of course, you can share capacity with other partners. That's one option. You could share joint distribution centers or even trucks. And that saves in both cost and in fuel. All of these results should be tracked in the same metrics you use for finance: cost and carbon per ton per kilometer. Let's talk about decarbonizing your fleets. Fleet upgrades do take some planning, but do deliver long-term savings. Electric trucks now work very well for short-haul and urban routes. For longer distances, hybrid or biofuel solutions might help bridge the gap. There's some very simple steps like proper tire inflation, speed management, idle reduction that can cut fuel usage by 5 to 10%. Of course, driver training and telematics can reinforce some of those habits. And then when adding electric vehicles, coordinate with facilities teams to ensure renewable power is available for recharging. Track not just the purchase price of the vehicles, but full life cost. The maintenance and fuel savings for EVs and for other renewable energy vehicles often makes up the difference very dramatically. Collaboration across modes. The biggest efficiency gains often come when shippers and carriers share information. Pooling shipments fills vehicles that otherwise would run half empty or fully empty. Real-time tracking lets everyone react to delays together instead of separately. Establish those joint KPIs, fuel efficiency, on-time performance, emissions per shipment, goals, so partners can all aim at the same ultimate target. Some companies, in fact, now publish joint scorecards to recognize top performing carriers. This collaboration creates a virtuous cycle of improvement that benefits the entire logistics network from origination to disposal. So summarizing this section, transportation offers immediate, measurable opportunities. Shifting modes, updating your fleets, and sharing data all lower cost and carbon simultaneously. Success depends on strong relationships and transparent metrics. When everyone in the network can see the performance and share gains, sustainability becomes the default way of doing business. Packaging and waste reduction. Packaging is one of the easiest, might be the easiest place to cut cost and emissions at the same time. Every extra ounce of material adds weight, which adds fuel and handling expenses. When teams redesign their packaging, the priority should be simplicity with using single materials that can be recycled and consistent sizes that maximize pallet density. Mixed materials like plastic-coated paper complicate recovery and often end up in a landfill, so you really should try to avoid those. Light weighting is also low risk. Small design changes there can yield huge savings. Treat this packaging as a managed asset and not a throwaway. Once it's part of the efficiency conversation, sustainability will follow naturally. Material innovations. Material choices are expanding very quickly. Recycled paperboard, biopolymers, and compostable films now perform as well as conventional plastics for many uses. But before switching, run pilot tests to confirm durability and shelf life performance. Ask suppliers for documentation on recycled or renewable content and confirm their numbers through audits. Regulators are beginning to phase out certain single-use plastics, so early transition may avoid some significant disruptions later. All of these innovations don't have to compromise product safety or quality. It just requires collaboration between packaging engineers and the procurement staff. Operational efficiency. Operations can amplify these design gains. Right sizing eliminates filler and improves cube utilization in trucks and containers. Automated packaging lines keep results consistent and cut human error. Consolidating orders reduces the need for extra boxes or pallets. Many companies have hundreds of packaging SKUs. Rationalizing that, the list simplifies purchasing and recycling. Waste tracking should become a KPI. Waste per order is as meaningful as cost per order when evaluating process efficiency. Of course, we talked about circularity, recovery, and closed loops. The best packaging is the one that comes back. Closed loop systems are expanding beyond bottles and pallets to include boxes and other containers. Retailers and logistics partners can collect used materials during delivery runs, which then reduce the extra trips. Digital identifiers help you trace reuse rates and material life cycles. And you really should align these programs with extended producer responsibility regulations so they count towards your compliance rates. And in many cases, recovered packaging pays for itself through avoided purchase and disposal costs. Let's sum up. Packaging connects product integrity, cost, and environmental performance. When you do in fact integrate design, operations, and recovery, improvements sustain themselves. This is a very quick return area, and small projects deliver measurable gains that build confidence for larger sustainability initiatives later on. Renewable energy. Energy, of course, is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, controllable cost in supply chain operations. Prices fluctuate with fuel markets, become very variable in the last few years. But renewables can provide predictable rates for 10 to 20 years. Many regions also now offer incentives that shorten payback periods on these renewable investments. On-site solar or wind generation adds resilience during grid disruptions. Of course, sourcing renewable energy isn't just about ESG, it's just smart business risk management. And as we'll see in the next few slides, efficiency and renewable procurement together can cut total operating energy costs by double digits. On-site generation and storage. Installing renewable generation at facilities converts unused space into value. Rooftop solar on warehouses today is now common. Smaller wind units are appearing in distribution centers. Battery storage can smooth out peaks and lower utility charges. And many fleets use this stored power for overnight vehicle charging. The key here is visibility to track energy generation, storage, and use in real time so facility teams can improve their savings and the reliability. Reporting avoided emissions also turns that technical work into clear sustainability metrics. Now, power purchase agreements. It's true, not every site can install solar or wind, but any company can buy renewable power through a PPA. These contracts fund new generation projects while guaranteeing the buyer a steady price. These virtual PPAs let global firms source green energy even where the grid mix is still fossil heavy. Attaching renewable energy certificates to verify that your purchase displaces conventional generation is important. And of course, finance and sustainability teams should negotiate together so contract terms align with corporate carbon goals. But before installing renewable energy or power purchase agreements, reduce demand. Energy efficiency is really the first fuel. Lighting upgrades, variable speed drives, and building management systems often repay investment in under 2 years. They're often the lowest hanging fruit. Capturing waste heat from compressors or ovens can preheat water or air. Electrifying process heat removes direct fossil combustion and simplifies your carbon accounting substantially. Track your energy intensity, kilowatt hours per ton moved or product produced, so improvements do stay visible over time. Efficiency really is the foundation of every serious energy strategy. So summing up, energy transformation blends economics and sustainability. Efficiency lowers consumption. Renewables stabilize cost. Storage and digital monitoring maintain reliability. Treat this energy data like any other performance metric. It belongs in the same dashboard as throughput and margin. That integration is what makes sustainability operational instead of aspirational. Section 9, data, AI, and traceability for ESG. What digital infrastructure do you need for ESG? Well, sustainability data is only credible if it's consistent. Many companies still rely on spreadsheets and email surveys, which produce gaps and duplication and errors. The fix is true integration, linking operational systems so environmental and financial data share one common harmonized backbone. These dashboards can then show real-time metrics, energy use, waste, emissions, right alongside cost and service performance. This alignment allows operation managers to make sustainability decisions with the same confidence as financial ones. AI for prediction and optimization. Artificial intelligence, of course, is moving ESG management from reactive to predictive. Algorithms learn from historical and sensor data to forecast energy spikes or shipment delays. They can also suggest lower carbon routing options or optimal inventory levels that balance both cost and emissions. AI tools flag outliers in data, missing reports or inconsistent values before they corrupt your data analytics dashboard. Used correctly, these systems become a digital asset that never sleeps, providing early warnings and practical recommendations for daily operations. And in fact, if you're interested in a deep dive into AI for the supply chain, please visit our related webinar and white paper on AI in the supply chain, which we ran. I believe the webinar was in early September. Blockchain and traceability. Why is blockchain important? Well, blockchain brings traceability where traditional systems struggle. Each transaction, supplier certification, shipment, recycling event is time-stamped and unchangeable. Smart contracts can then trigger alerts or payments automatically when sustainability conditions or other conditions are met. For example, only suppliers with verified low-carbon materials are approved for purchase or approved for payment. These tools don't replace audits, but they provide a tamper-proof layer that builds confidence across the chain. Customers increasingly expect this kind of digital proof when they choose brands. Strong governance, data governance and security, keeps sustainability data reliable. Decide who owns which data sets and how often they're reviewed. Use consistent units, metric tons, kilowatt hours, dollars, so comparisons make sense and are harmonized. Secure systems are critical. Supplier data may include proprietary or personal information. Document every single one of these changes and keep logs for audits. A yearly data governance review should be as routine as a financial audit. This discipline prevents errors and strengthens trust in the reported numbers. Summarizing our last section. Technology isn't the goal, it's the enabler. When data analytics and governance come together, sustainability metrics carry the same weight as financial results. That's what investors, regulators, and customers all want today. Verifiable evidence that progress is, in fact, real. In the next section, we'll look at how governance and reporting frameworks keep that progress on track. Governance, reporting, and compliance. So governance is what keeps sustainability from becoming a side project. You need a structure that ties decisions to accountability. That means naming an executive sponsor, someone who can cut through the silos and make sure environmental targets appear in operational reviews. You really should assign clear ownership for each metric so no one assumes someone else is responsible for it. A cross-functional council consisting of operations, procurement, finance, and IT is an important thing to do, as it aligns actions and avoids duplication efforts or efforts at cross purposes. And of course, you really should review your progress every quarter the same way you review financial performance. This governance is what turns a plan into an operating rhythm. Reporting frameworks. Reporting truly doesn't have to be complicated. You can use established frameworks so investors and regulators know how to interpret your data. You can align your sustainability reporting with your financial calendar. You really shouldn't treat it as a separate season. Automating the evidence collection through software cuts a tremendous amount of manual work and reduces errors substantially. When publishing this data, focus on clarity. What's included, what's excluded, and how the data was gathered. The goal here is accuracy and transparency, not endless pages of narrative. Good reporting is short, data-backed, and easy to audit. Assurance and verification. External assurance validates that your numbers hold up under scrutiny. Auditors should be able to trace each data point from meter to spreadsheet to report. You follow recognized standards like the GHG protocol to calculate emissions. It's wise to publish both strengths and areas for improvement. This transparency earns credibility. That authenticity is important. Use each audit cycle to improve data governance, close your gaps, document your methods, and automate wherever you can. That entire cycle builds both confidence internally and externally. Culture and leadership. Well, culture really is the long-term driver of results. When leaders treat sustainability like safety, it's a non-negotiable. It becomes part of daily behavior. Tie measurable sustainability objectives to performance evaluations of your employees and tied to incentives so everyone has a stake in improvement. Regular updates from leadership keep the message visible. Recognition programs motivate teams and suppliers and individuals to share good ideas. Finally, train employees so they understand how their work connects to these sustainability targets. This culture turns compliance into momentum in your organization. Let's summarize governance. Governance gives sustainability a backbone. Reporting provides visibility, and third-party verification confirms credibility. But culture is what keeps it all moving. When sustainability is measured, reported, and rewarded, it becomes self-sustaining, just like safety or quality programs. All of those endure because they're ingrained in how people think and work. Barriers and an implementation roadmap. Every organization faces obstacles. Data often sits in different systems with inconsistent formats. Many suppliers, especially smaller ones, lack measurement capacities. Budgets, of course, always, in most cases, tend to favor short-term returns, which can delay investment in efficiency projects that might have longer-term paybacks. Regulatory frameworks differ by country and sector, creating sometimes substantial confusion. And few teams have deep experience in sustainability analytics. It's important to recognize these gaps early because it helps you plan around them. The solution is a structured, systematic approach. Start small, fix the data layer, harmonize your data, and expand once your foundation is solid. A phased approach is wise. Trying to do everything at once usually fails. One approach is to break the journey into 3 stages. First, clean up your data and create baselines. Second, launch the most material programs, supplier engagement, energy efficiency, renewable sourcing. Then third, automate the data capture, and embed governance so the system runs continuously. Of course, then later on, layer on measurable milestones and evaluate annually. This phased incremental approach shows progress without overwhelming the organization and allows lessons from early steps to inform and motivate later ones. Change management. Sustainability transformation, as most digital transformation initiatives, is mostly about people. Employees need to understand and embrace why change matters and how it affects their daily work. It's important to designate champions in each department who can connect strategy to operations. Equip them with tools, templates, dashboards, and playbooks. Recognize small wins publicly, as this early success builds credibility and momentum. Avoid over-promising on speed. This all does take a while. Make sure progress is steady, not sudden, and consistency here matters far more than intensity. Quantifying ROI. Executives and your board need financial context. Document your tangible savings, whether it be lower energy bills, less waste disposal, or reduced maintenance. Where carbon pricing exists, factor that into your economics. Include the avoided costs as well. Fewer disruptions, better compliance, and lower insurance premiums. Many jurisdictions, too, offer grants or tax credits for efficiency or renewable projects. Take advantage of those. Express all your results in dollars or whatever your local currency may be. It keeps sustainability aligned with local financial performance. So summing up, real progress follows a plan. Build a clean data foundation, expand in incremental phases, and keep communication open. Demonstrate return on investment with hard numbers. And each small win funds the next one, and incrementally they will get larger. And over time, the organization will shift from reacting to leading on sustainability. And with that, let's move into our conclusion, section 12. The future supply chain. The supply chain of the future looks different from the one we all grew up with. It's a connected system that senses and responds in real time. Material flows in loops, not lines. It circles back. Operations draw on renewable energy and share verified data across every tier. Collaboration replaces secrecy, and digital tools keep everyone aligned, all up and down the supply chain. This is not idealism, it's simply where competitive advantage is moving today. Key takeaways. I know we covered a lot of information today, but today's message is straightforward. Sustainability is not a marketing function, it's operational excellence. It relies on measurable data, practical technology, and strong governance. When those three elements work together, the organization gains both resilience and efficiency. These fundamentals apply whether you manage manufacturing, logistics, or procurement. So what can you do as a leader? Leadership defines pace and credibility. Start by setting goals that align with recognized science-based targets. Link those outcomes to performance reviews, and if it matters to compensation, well, it will get done. Invest in people and the systems needed to manage that data properly. Work with your suppliers, not just auditors, to build shared improvement plans, dashboards, metrics, etc. And communicate openly about those results, even the imperfect ones. Honest progress builds trust with every stakeholder up and down the entire supply chain. So let's look ahead. Change isn't slowing down. Regulatory frameworks are expanding and technology keeps advancing. AI is now handling much of the monitoring optimization work we have done in the past. Product design is continuing to favor durability and reuse. And ultimately, investors will value companies based on operational sustainability the same way they do on revenue growth. The organizations preparing now will be the ones leading those metrics later. With that, we come to the end of our webinar. I would really like to thank you all for spending this time on what I and ARC and Logistics Viewpoints believes is one of the most important transformations in modern industry. All of these ideas we talked about aren't theoretical. They're working in real operations worldwide. So hopefully you can use today's discussion as a starting point for discussions within your own organization. ARC and our Logistics Viewpoints site continue to research and support organizations making this shift. Let's keep this conversation going and continue to translate the insights that we receive into measurable results across the industry. With that, I'll take a few questions. Let me see what we have here. For the first question is, how do we access the recording of this session? We'll make sure that this is posted, the link to it on logisticsviewpoints.com. You'll see it there shortly in a day or two, as well as links to, as I mentioned, our earlier presentations, which were AI in the supply chain and cybersecurity in the supply chain. Both were extremely detailed, and actually all three of these do come with a white paper. Our next question, how to get the white papers. They too are on Logistics Viewpoints. In one of the pull-down menus, you will see downloads. And at present, both the AI in the supply chain and the cybersecurity in the supply chain white paper are available for direct download today. So please go there and download that. As time goes on, month by month, we will be adding the white papers of not only this session, but energy in the supply chain, digital twins in the supply chain, and connected vehicles in the supply chain. So keep visiting Logistics Viewpoints to see those as they get loaded. And we have time, I believe, for one more question, and it is, how to learn more and attend the ARC forum. Here's our slide on the ARC forum that led off our presentation today. It is, in fact, our 30th annual ARC Industry Leadership Forum. We have a broad range of topics and sessions and keynotes on the most important topics important to our industrial automation, manufacturing, process control, discrete manufacturing ecosystem today. As you can see in the slide, our topics we're focusing upon this year are AI and digital twins, robotics, smart manufacturing and the digital transformation, cybersecurity and AI and the supply chain, as well as some of the topics of our webinars, including sustainability and the supply chain. So if you'd like more information on that, just visit the ARC landing page at arcweb.com, arcweb.com, and look for our events. And there you can learn more. You could directly register. I believe registration is open. You could also find an event listing for our 30th annual forum on LinkedIn on the ARC page. And there, with one click, you could click on a save the date link, and you can get all the information as we update speakers and presenters and other special events around the forum itself. So with that, I thank you all for attending, and we will end our session. And we will look forward to seeing you next month with our next webinar on energy in supply chain. Thank you all for joining us today.